I ran into a few situations growing up where I needed to defend myself, whether I was out skateboarding or in school dealing with bullies. Eventually, I just took the extreme side I had to myself to do something like MMA. There was times where I was taking different routes home from school and there would be people waiting for me outside of school. I always wanted to be like Jason Bourne, be able to like be a weapon. My dad always said, "You're a pretty boy, people are gonna pick on you." He would always say that to me growing up. Patrick Day stands out in that gym because he was a huge inspiration to me. He was like the best boxer I've ever seen in my entire life, and watching him spar all the time was amazing. He said like just lock in with MMA and take it seriously, and he could see me taking out Sean O'Malley. Without fighting, I don't know how life would be, because fighting has really taught me a lot. It's taught me discipline and confidence, to be strong and healthy and to stay out of trouble. You need to make a lot of sacrifices. It's not easy. You get hurt a lot. You just have to want it that.
All right. Nice. We did it.
Yes, sir. We finally made it.
How you doing, Zach? You just finished training?
Yeah, just got out of training right now. Had a pretty long day, so got some good work.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're excited to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, Zachary Blumberg is a Long Island MMA fighter, hails from Oceanside, New York. And I like to kind of start off kind of getting a little to know, like, where my guests came from and like how they grew up and kind of how they got into what they're doing. So if you want to, just to start off, tell me kind of how you grew up and why you got into fighting and almost on the professional level.
So it really was a long journey. A lot of different factors led into me getting into it. I always was a pretty active kid running around. I was into skateboarding, a lot of sports like that. But I uh, I ran into a few situations growing up, where I needed to defend myself, and whether I was out skateboarding and or in school or whatever, dealing with like bullies, stuff like that. And eventually, I just took like the extreme side I had to myself, where I was always like skateboarding, getting hurt doing that, and I'm like, all right, I could do something like MMA, where I'm getting something that I could apply to my life, be able to defend myself, get stronger, and while doing something that I have fun doing and enjoy doing.
So where did you grow up? You grew up on Long Island?
Yeah, I grew up in Oceanside.
Gotcha. So you had some bullying issues, huh?
Yeah, definitely. There was always some, like growing up in Oceanside. Definitely, there was bullies, stuff like that. But um, yeah, like eventually, I just wanted to learn how to defend myself. It also was a lot like going out skateboarding and stuff. Like with me and all my friends, we would be running into people at the skate parks that would like try to like jump my friends or something like that.
Oh, damn. It gets
Yeah,
wild out there, huh?
yeah.
People don't
Most.
think that usually about Oceanside, but so
Yeah, no, there was people don't understand it. I mean, wherever you are really in the world, there's always going to be like people that are up to no good. Like there was times where I was taking different routes home from school and stuff because like there would be people waiting for me outside of school or
yeah,
something like that, yeah. And then just a few years ago, unfortunately, rest in peace to him, some kid got stabbed in Oceanside, so
yeah, yeah, that did happen like 20, couple years ago, I remember.
yeah.
But so tell me, like, was this like ongoing? Was it like when you were like 5, 6 years old, or was it like more towards high school? Like when did you get into like your first kind of altercation?
Um Actually, yeah, even growing up cuz like I used to live in Brooklyn too growing up, and then even like from when I was on the playground, we would have kids picking on you. There's always been times where it'd be good to know how to defend yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Did what'd your parents say? I know sometimes like my dad would like I got into karate at a young age. And it was for self-defense. Was that kind of the same advice that your parents kind of like push you to just like get into it, or was it more like you just did it on your own?
Well, also I always liked like action movies and stuff. I was always like obsessed with like movies with like Jason Statham and stuff like that, just like action movies. And I always wanted to be like, like Jason Bourne, be able to like be able to like just be a weapon with my, you know.
Well, you did it.
Yeah. I'm working on it. I'm trying my best.
How old are you right now, Zach?
I'm 27.
27, same.
Yeah.
So tell me when it started to get like serious. I mean, you started learning how to defend yourself, but like when did it get to a point where you thought you could like do this for more than just standard self-defense? You could go like to another level.
All right. Well, yeah, like you said, like my parents did like help me. They brought me to a boxing gym and stuff, and
Nice.
they wanted me to get into it because they said my dad always said he's like you're a pretty boy. People are gonna pick on you. He would always say that to me growing up, and uh, when I went into my boxing gym, my coach was saying like you have a perfect nose. You sure you want to get into this? And I'm like yeah, I definitely want to get into this. And then sure enough, now my nose looks like this, but
You healed
yeah, I
up
think
pretty well.
after I had growing up, so I would after like training for a while, I had to defend myself a couple times, and then I realized that I was pretty good at it. And then after sparring in gyms, they would put me in with like people who had more experience than me growing up, and I always held my own. So I had a lot of people that I looked up to that would always be telling me that I had potential to like take this to another level. And I'm very thankful for those people because those are the people that made me realize that I think that they thought I had something special about me.
Nice. So you said that obviously, you had the bullying issue. When you started, taking fighting seriously, did your reputation change? Did they see that, oh, this kid, he's starting to fight, like we should back off a little bit? Or was there like a fight that you might have got into that made people realize,
Well, yeah, I think like I never was the type to look for problems, but I did eventually like more towards like the end of high school when I was always a smaller kid, but once I started growing and like really just staying consistent with the regiment, it started paying off. And there were times where I had to defend myself, and it was done quick. So I think that was when I realized that like I that it only takes one shot basically. And all my fights have been the same. Like had I'm 5-0 as an amateur fighter and MMA, and they've all no one's lasted more than 2 minutes. So
okay. So what were some of the people that you mentioned a couple people, who were some of the people that kind of were helpful or impactful in your come up into like now you're in the MMA 5-0? Who are some of the people that kind of helped you along the way?
there was a lot of people growing up. I had Mutant MMA since I was 16 years old, and even before that, I was at Freeport PAL. That was my first boxing gym that I ever went to. I always looked up to people like Patrick Day and Shawnee Monahan in that gym. And Patrick Day stands out in that gym because he was a huge inspiration to me. He was like the best boxer I've ever seen in my entire life, and watching him spar all the time was amazing. And then eventually, after putting in years of work, I got to spar with him, and it was a humbling experience. He was the first person to ever put me down, first person to, he taught me a lot, and I would always talk to him in the locker rooms, and he would always say, just put this before everything and come in here, put the work in. And he saw that I had potential, and he kind of like spoke it into existence. And yeah, so I always looked up to him. He was definitely a big part in it, and rest in peace to him because actually in his last fight he passed away, um, and I was watching that live. And yeah, it was kind of like a freak accident because Pat is like I said, he was like the Terminator. He was untouchable. So um, yeah, it was just that's definitely played like a big role in my career as a fighter.
Yeah, I think people forget that, it's a combat sport, it's dangerous, and I feel like that's something that, does turn a lot of folks off to it, but it didn't do that to you. So if, you know, you want to talk a little bit about, why you weren't kind of discouraged by like what could happen in the ring. I don't know if mom saw that and was like, I don't want my boy
Yeah.
doing this.
Well, yeah, it did. It discouraged me a little bit because, like I said, he was the best of the best, and I've never seen someone till this day that could live up to like his consistency, his discipline. He was really like, uh, he was like what you want, any coach wants to see. He's like the product of like a really good fighter, and so like seeing that, I think it just made me realize that this is not to be played with. I have to listen. I have to really make sure that I do everything I can to keep myself safe in there. And it also plays something when I fight. My mentality now is like it's me or them. Like I have to go in there and then do everything I can to like leave there safe.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah.
So tell me about kind of your preparation before you got into your very first MMA fight, how long did you prep before somebody said, "Hey, we can put you in with, somebody now"? How long was that, and how was that experience, your first fight?
Well, I used to be a boxer before I was into MMA, and I used to compete in the Golden Gloves, and those that's definitely where I like learned how to fight in front of a crowd and got my experience fighting. But then for MMA, I trained. I mean, I trained a lot of years of MMA before I took my first fight, definitely. But I would say when COVID happened, as soon as like lockdown happened, that's when I was mid boxing tournament and everything shut down. So I was still training at an MMA gym. They never closed down. And then I
That's
decided I was talking to some pro MMA fighters, and he was, my someone I always looked up to, Georgi Kadushkavili. He told me I butchered his name.
shout
It's
out.
yeah, I butchered his name, but yeah, shout out to him. He told me he's like he said like just lock in with MMA and take it seriously, and he could see me taking out like someone named Sean O'Malley, which is was the champ at the time.
So, so 5-0. So tell me a little bit about where you are kind of right now, because I know you got the 5-0 record, but you told me that you kind of recently you were going to have your first pro fight, and then you kind of got injured. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, like where you are right now and your goals kind of for the next couple months.
So yeah, I had two fights lined up. The first one, my opponent pulled out, and then the second one, I kept training, and ended up tearing my hamstring, so it put me out. Um, Then I was coaching the night that I was supposed to fight, and I cracked my head open. I ran into a metal ledge, unfortunately. So it's been like a lot of ups and downs the past few months, but I've done what I can to stay as consistent as possible. And yeah, so my we decided to just put the amateurs in the past, and we're taking it to the pros June 13th. I'll be having my pro debut, and I'm excited for that.
Where you fight?
I'm fighting in Atlantic City at the Tropicana.
Very nice. Everybody can go check
Yeah.
that out, see how they could go watch that. So tell me a little about this metal pole incident, because I need some,
Uh,
we need some context on this. So what
Yeah,
happened?
so I was coaching. I was supposed to fight that night. Like I said, I pulled out because of injury, and I was coaching one of my teammates, and I was in the corner. And then the round ended. In the first round, I went to go grab like the bucket to go run in, and they had like this metal like platform that the filmers stand on.
Okay.
Yeah, and I when I reached down to grab the bucket and I turned around to go run into the cage, I didn't see it, and I just like ran right
Okay.
into it. Yeah. And then I was coaching. I had blood pouring down my face. Like,
That's worse than any actual fight you've been
yeah, basically, they would
in.
have. Everyone was saying I would have been better off fighting that night.
So who are some of the, because you said you started with boxing. Did you look up to any kind of fighters, either in boxing, UFC, MMA? Is there anybody that you look at, whether it's their style or, maybe throughout like your years you started reaching out to people? Who's some of the people you either look for inspiration, or you just like the style of how they fight?
There's so many people that I grew up like watching and idolizing and stuff, and I like to, people like Roberto Duran, Mike Tyson, Rocky Marciano, just people who are always like ferocious and like with like a brick wall mentality, and they're gonna keep coming, and like they're just gonna bring everything every fight, ruthless.
Yep. Lost your camera there, Zach.
Uh, yep, I see something's going on.
You're good. We see you.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, I just always looked up to people like Mike Tyson, where like they go in there with so much like ferocious energy, and they look for the finish, and they're exciting to watch. The don't blink.
All right. Not so what's your styles? More kind of like Tyson-esque, like your ruthless aggression,
I'd
trying to knock
say
them out?
I like to mix, but I love watching defensive fighters too. It's not just like that. I'm definitely a student of the game. I like to be well rounded, but yeah, I'd say I like to bring like kind of like a Mike Tyson energy in there, but mix it with Floyd Mayweather because I don't get hit.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to go into it a little bit about like how you step by step how you got into it. So you were in high school, obviously you're learning how to fight and whatnot. When was it like I don't know if you went to college at all. But when was the decision made exactly? Like, hey, I want to fight. This is what I want to do. And you like probably bypass like the traditional kind of like path that most people take.
So yeah, I think I always knew that this was my path. Like ever since high school, like I would tell my teachers like I'm gonna be a pro fighter, and they would always try to tell me like, all right, be more realistic, and things like
Yeah,
that. They
yeah,
would always try to tell me like they didn't see it in me. I had teachers in middle school tell me I was gonna be the kid that would be put in a locker. I was a smaller kid, so like the teachers they didn't like to hear that I wanted to be a pro fighter. Some of them did believe in it, but most of them, they would say do something more realistic. I always kind of just tuned that out and just said, "All right, I'm gonna show you," And I just kept doing what I was doing, and I think that's what like led to my decision. I kind of always knew I was gonna do it, and then just the more I manifested it, the more I kept putting the work in, and just making like the choice to just like send it into the competitions and not overthink, and just listen to Pat and stay consistent and just put the work in. That's like when I realized like, yeah, I'm taking this all the way, and I had people like Pat saying like, you know, keep doing what you're doing.
yeah. So how like what's your kind of motivation? Do you like need that voice like Pat to kind of like up like, big you up a little bit, right? Or are you like one of those people who gets like you hear people doubt you and you get pissed off and you want to prove them wrong, or is it like kind of both?
That too. I think it's a mixture of both. Like I
Yeah.
want to I want to prove myself right. I want to prove all of them wrong, and I want to honor everyone who believes in me. I want to honor everyone that thought and everyone that still thinks that I have the potential to make it to the top. I want to. It's my business. Like I want to make prove them all right.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
obviously, you're doing the fight game, and I know that, from us talking a few times, like you have a lot of other stuff going on. So like tell me a little bit about like what's going on in your life outside the ring, outside the training room.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, things have been real crazy this year between like work. I work full time. I'm a truck driver, and I work at Mercedes Benz, and so I do that, and then
Shout out to
I
Mercedes.
I also yeah shout out. I also fight full time, and then I also do personal training on the side, and stuff like that, and dealing with a lot, between like personal life and just like there's just a lot going on mentally leading into like the year that everything leads to this. It's like now I'm pro, and it's a big year for me. So making a lot of sacrifices.
How long you been truck driving?
Almost 2 years now.
Because I've like that's a I feel like people don't know how hard that actually is. Like you're
Yeah,
you're doing
it's
night doing a
it's
lot.
definitely played a mental toll. Like so many hours on the road. People don't realize like you have so much time to think. You're sitting there like just driving, and you're alone, so it's a lot of thinking time.
Yeah. So why did you want to get in? Like, how did you get into it? I should say. How'd you
I
get
kind
into
of just I fell into it. I kind of like fell into got a position working maintenance at Mercedes, and then it led to also getting my CDL and doing their car swaps, truck driving, stuff like that.
it? Okay. Any crazy like trucker stories? Been on the road? Something crazy happen or not?
Um, Not really. There's been like just like everyday stuff, people driving like maniacs. I get people like
Long
joking
Island.
about like telling me like, "Oh yeah, like let me get that car," like in some shady areas, but
I
they
mean, when you know how to fight, I guess it's like a lot less intimidating.
yeah, exactly. I kind of just like laugh it off, but always have to be careful still.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what's your training schedule? Like how often are you training and on top of all the other things that you're doing? So tell me a
So
little bit
now
about that.
now I'm switching it off because for the past 2 years it's been like I work from 8 to 5, then I'm at the gym at 5:30 in my work clothes, and I'm lifting weights. I was lifting weights for like 2 hours, and then going straight to MMA, and then I was doing MMA till like 10:30 at night, and getting home and not eating dinner till like around 11 and stuff. So like it was too much, a lot of stress, and my body couldn't really keep up with it. I think that's why I ended up getting injured. So now I'm kind of like training smarter, but it's still similar, similar
Gotcha.
regimen.
So like you're 27 now. I don't know if you're like a long-term goals person, but like where you are right now in your life, are you like where you want to be? Is this where you envisioned maybe like 6, 7 years ago? Like I'm on the path I want to be? Or did
I would say yeah, everything in God's timing, you know, like I believe in that. I believe I'm exactly where I need to be because I believe everything's going to work out. And but I honestly I think that if I was more disciplined, that I could have been more ahead of the game years ago. You know, I could have been pro years ago, but you can't be saying could have, would have. You know, it's like everything in God's timing, and I think this is perfect time. This is the year.
Gotcha. So throughout like your time, what have you kind of learned about yourself through fighting? Because I feel like you can learn a lot. Like a lot of people haven't been punched in the face, you know?
Yeah,
So I feel like you can learn a lot through fighting. So tell me a little bit about like what you've learned about yourself through fighting.
yeah. I think without fighting, like I don't know how life would be because yeah, fighting has really taught me a lot. It's taught me, you know, discipline and to just like keep at something, and it's taught me I don't know, it's taught me confidence. It's taught me to be strong and healthy and to stay out of trouble. Kept me out of a lot of trouble, definitely. Um, but yeah, I mean, I can't really think of it off the top of my head,
Yeah,
but fighting has definitely taught me a lot, and I'd say it's my whole personality, probably.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So tell me, where do you want to be? Because we talked about like where you thought you would be. Where do you want to be in the next couple years? Like, what's the goal, like for the end of the year and then like beyond that?
By the end of the year, I want to have you know, a couple pro wins under my belt, maybe up to, I don't know, we'll see, but I definitely want to have a few pro wins by the end of the year, and within the next 2 years, I see myself getting into the UFC.
Okay. Any fighters that you would want to fight in the UFC, or is that not something you really think about?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fighters that like I just said before, Sean O'Malley, but um, that would be like, it's like a different weight, but
Yeah, what's your
very, very similar.
yeah, tell everybody your height and like what your weight class is.
So my height is 5'10", and I fight at 145, which is featherweight, and yeah. So, but right now, some targets I have, you know, Ilya, he's the champ. That's someone I always envision fighting. He's known for his like really good striking, and he's well rounded. But they're they're like he's known as like one of the best boxers in the UFC. So I want to show I'm one of the best boxers in the world.
Gotcha. Are you I don't know if you ever were you a WWE guy at all? You were into
Yeah,
that?
I was actually. I think that's where it all started. To be
Okay,
honest.
I'm glad I
Yeah.
asked. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about like when you first got into WWE, because a lot of fighters, you know, they start with that and then it kind of spearheads and then you get into it. So tell me about when you got into pro wrestling.
Yeah, so when I was younger, that's what I wanted to be. When I was in elementary school, like if you look in my yearbook, it says I wanted to be a stuntman because I've always been into that type of stuff. And I used to run around with a Rey Mysterio mask and be like, I had a trampoline. We would always be doing like wrestling, like every day. Me and my everyone on my block, we'd be beating each other up, you know, like doing all the wrestling. But yeah, I was really into wrestling. I always wanted to be a pro wrestler, so I think that definitely played a role in me wanting to be now. When I realized it was fake fighting, I'm like, all right, now I want to do the real thing.
You got heartbroken. Did you stop watching or did you like continue?
I think no, I stopped watching eventually. Once I got into like MMA and stuff, I stopped watching, but I do still enjoy it. It's a good show.
Gotcha, gotcha. So you
Yeah,
saw John Cena turn heel. Cool.
yeah, yeah.
So, all right, you're good on the mic. Would you be able to hold your own in a press conference?
I'd say me on the mic is probably that's my the worst thing. The worst thing like my weakness is probably talking. You know, my weakness is talking in the mic, but it's something I plan on to keep working on. You know.
Oh, well, you know what? We're starting now, so you know you got some
Yeah, yeah,
practice here. Your
yeah, definitely.
first on-screen interview.
Yeah.
So we got a couple questions here, and then we can wrap up. But so tell me like something that you think people who like they're not into fighting, right? Tell me something people don't know about like pro fighting, like pro MMA. Like what's something people don't know about it that you learned being in it?
Um, that it's extremely hard. Like you need to make a lot of sacrifices. You need to make a lot of sacrifices for this life. It's not easy, and you get hurt a lot, and you just have to want it. You have to want it bad.
Yeah. You did mention that. I don't know if like we really got into it, like some of the sacrifices you had to make going into like this year.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about like some of the stuff that's you've had to kind of like give up now that you're kind of going into like towards the pros?
Yeah, like just basically anything that wasn't everything that's not like directly pushing me towards this goal, I kind of had to eliminate like anything holding me back in any way, and no going out, like no partying, nothing like that. Just like it's just work, train, eat, sleep, repeat, and that's my life. And so those are basically the sacrifices, and um, eliminating like people, anyone that's like holding you back in any way or stuff like that.
Oh, you said you have to cut some people. Anyway, you don't have to talk about it if you don't have to,
Yeah,
but you have to cut a couple of people off in your life.
yeah. I had to cut a couple people off in my life.
It happens.
Yeah,
Um, so that was all this year?
yeah. All this year.
Gotcha, gotcha. So really the only thing, I guess the job, the trucker job is probably like the biggest kind of thing that takes away your time.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on now. I'm working on gaining like financial freedom to quit this job, because the biggest thing is with health insurance. Health insurance, because I'm getting hurt so much. If I don't have a job with health insurance, that I'll be paying like a lot of money. So
Right. So you're kind of just working on a plan. I don't know if you want to go into like, how you're trying to stay like financially like stable because, it is kind of like a risk to like go
yeah,
into like the pro scene. So if you want to talk
yeah.
about that, it's fine.
So I plan on like just after this fight, I might work a little longer, but I actually planned on like being done with this job months ago, like before I got injured. So I plan on going pro and really just like getting after it and taking as many fights as I can, stacking money and investing and trying to make smart moves, and then using my resources through sponsors and stuff for try to keep myself healthy.
Gotcha. What would you say is like some advice? And we're both 27, so it's not like we're like the oldest people in the world, but like what would be like some advice to somebody like younger who's kind of like in your position, like getting bullied and people giving a tough time? Would you give them the same like path that you went down, or because like nowadays a lot of like specifically like schools like don't fight, like not very non-confrontational, like what advice would you give to like somebody kind of who's like coming up and he's struggling like getting with bullies and stuff like that?
I definitely recommend, like, whether you're getting bullied or not, I think everyone should do MMA, some type of self defense, some type of combat sport. It's just like the confidence that comes with it is unmatched, and just being able to walk around with your head up, knowing like you could hold your own is just like it's an unmatched feeling. And I think that it could benefit everyone in everyday life, especially like you said, if you're getting bullied, definitely get into MMA, train with someone that's going to teach you the right things, keep yourself safe, and definitely I recommend it.
Sure. I want to circle back to this because you said you were bullied because like you were smaller, but then you told me you're like 5'10", which is like
Yeah,
not not short at all. Like you're only at 5'10". So like,
yeah,
did you like have a late growth spurt and like people were like we're just a bunch of tall ass kids in Oceanside?
yeah. Like I had a late growth spurt. Definitely, I was and when I was a freshman in high school, I was 98 pounds. Like
Oh,
yeah, I was small. So when I went into like 10th grade, I gained a lot. Then the following year, I kept working out. By senior year, I was basically like almost not full size, but a lot bigger.
gotcha.
But I
So
I was growing even after high school. I was definitely a late bloomer. Yeah.
gotcha. So when you like got your revenge on these bullies, and we don't have to get into what happened if you don't want to, but did you get in trouble for that, or did your parents your dad kind of give you a thumbs up and a pat on the back or anything?
Yeah, no, my mom and dad, they're happy. They're happy to see that I defend myself. And
Nice,
yeah, if I'm in danger, my mom always said like, you better hit them right in the face, like. So they weren't the type to tell me not to defend myself.
nice. What do they do? What's their kind of influence been in your life, mom and dad?
Definitely very positive. Without them, I wouldn't be here right now. they helped me a lot throughout my life, and definitely props to them, for raising me.
Up and coming fighter.
Yeah.
Are you like one of one? Are you an only child, or you got siblings?
Yeah, I have two stepbrothers, and then I have one sister.
Nice. Did y'all
Yeah.
get into fights?
Yeah, my sister was like a crazy athlete growing up. Like that's like
Okay.
me. Whenever I win a fight, I do a backflip. She's the one that taught me that. She was always a gymnast, and I always used to try to copy her growing up. So like, she definitely played a role in me becoming athletic.
That's cool. How much older is she than you?
She's 30. She just turned. She's 4 years older than me. Hold on, I gotta do this math. Yeah, she just turned 31.
Gotcha, gotcha. That's
Yeah,
cool. So you could do it. So in all five of your fights, you backflipped on
yeah, every single one.
them. That's pretty cool, actually, you know?
Thank you.
So we're gonna play like a game here, and then we can wrap it up. So I did this with Charlie Campbell. We're gonna do like word reference, but he kind of spoke a little longer. So I'm gonna say a name, and you just tell me the first word that comes to mind when you hear it. So we're gonna start with Charlie Campbell.
Um, I thought of axe murderer. I just thought of axe murderer. That's what I thought of. He likes to chop people's legs off.
Israel Adesanya.
I just thought of style bender. That's what.
Makes makes
Yeah.
sense. Sean O'Malley.
Victim.
Interesting. You wanna let's get into that. Why'd you think that?
Because I think I could take him out.
Okay. Interesting. Dustin Poirier.
The diamond. I look up to him a lot. When you ask me like for some fighters, I went into boxers, but that's definitely an MMA fighter I always looked up to. He's rugged. He's a badass. He'll fight till the final bell with everything he has. He's a monster.
Mike Tyson.
Ruthless.
Jake Paul.
I can't say the word that came to mind.
Yes, you can.
Pussy. I could say it.
Yeah, you can. To say family friendly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, pussy.
You want to go into that?
I mean, he's just he likes to fight old retired people, and he's like his skill level in boxing is very novice. I mean, maybe he's like open now, he's like open amateur level boxer, but he's beating up on people that don't even know how to throw a jab. Like he's beating up on like people that don't fight with boxing. Like they're not boxers. They don't understand boxing. They understand like grappling and stuff like that. So it's like a different game. He likes to take advantage of like people like Mike Tyson who are coming in with like knee problems and back problems, and but I mean, there's a positive to it. I like how he's bringing like publicity to fighting and boxing and stuff, and he's also put millions of dollars in Mike Tyson's pocket, so that's the upside. But I think I'll piece him up 100%. I'll piece him up. That's what I think, and he's bigger than I am, but I'll still piece him up.
Right. That's bold. I like that.
No,
I'm
it's
glad.
it's it's not even like it's a. I know I will piece him up 100%.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So, I mean, what did you think of the Tyson? What did you think of the Tyson fight when you were like when you were actually watching it?
I was uh I was irritated because I saw like I just felt Mike Tyson. It was like a show. He was biting his glove a lot. Like he wanted to like let it go, but there was a clause where it's like if he knocks him out in one round, he's only getting paid for one round. So like he had to go to the end to make the full money. I believe it's like all just a show.
Logan Paul?
Logan Paul, I mean, they're kind of on the same boat. I don't know. I view them as
So
like
they're
the
both
same.
they're both
Yeah,
pussies.
they're the same. I mean, it's crazy that he fought like Floyd Mayweather and stuff, but like I said, then again, same thing, same deal. Floyd was holding back.
Gotcha. Do a couple more. Dana White.
Boss, future boss,
I like that. Vince McMahon.
legend.
Nice. Joe Rogan.
I would love to be on that podcast.
Well, you know what? You're only going up from here, so
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be part of this podcast. Thank you for having me.
of course, of course. Brock Lesnar,
Monster, monster. Yeah,
Conor McGregor.
one of a kind.
I like that. Now, out of all the names you said, who are you the biggest fan of?
Um,
Not
there's
the
a lot.
Pauls.
Mike Tyson, Dustin Poirier, Charlie Campbell, and Dana White, Joe Rogan. I mean, all the names you said, they're all great names, honestly. So definitely.
Awesome. And maybe you probably had contact with a couple. I know that Charlie's also a Long Islander, so you probably touched base with him, right?
Yeah, he was actually in my corner for my first kickboxing fight.
Nice.
Yeah,
You can send this to him.
yeah,
All right. So yeah, so that's that. And so your next fight, if you want to plug your socials and next fight again, that is coming up pretty soon. And so people can go check that out. That's going to be in New Jersey, you said?
yeah. In New Jersey. Oh, you said to say my social?
Yeah, you plug yourself and anything else that
Okay.
you got.
Yeah, you can follow me at bada bing underscore ZB on Instagram. And that's basically my handle for everything. I don't have Facebook. So you could check me out on Instagram and
How'd you
everything's
come
from there.
how'd you come up with that?
Bada bing. I don't know how I really came up to it. It kind of just like it came to me. Um, I was without first. I had like my name was Blackout Blumberg, and then it was what was it? Bing Bong, and then I went from Bing Bong, and Bada Bing just stuck. Once I got to Bada Bing, it just felt right. So
All right. I like that.
yeah, and it
So
kind of fits my personality, I think,
how you say like
because the Bada Bing was like it's the strip club. Bada Bing is a strip club, and it's like from The Sopranos. And I don't know. I just always like that saying. As long as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
I like that. Now I want to ask questions about the strip club stories. But maybe you'll have like more of those as you like rise up and
Yeah,
get
I mean, I mean, I plan on further down the line once I make all my money moves right and become UFC champion. I want to open up Bada Bing strip clubs.
okay, fair enough. I like
Yeah.
that. You got a financial advisor to help you out, and you said, oh, it's because of the Sopranos, not because you're Italian. All right,
Oh yeah, no, I'm not Italian.
yeah. So, where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself in like 10 years? Are we gonna be multi-time champion?
In 10 years,
Yeah,
in
10
ten
years. You'll be
years,
37.
we'll see. Yeah, because honestly, I always say another thing. I said I fear no man. I will fight. I will fight any weight class. So I could picture myself starting at 145, and then you know maybe see like how high I could go. I'll fight like 145, 155, 165, and see if I could keep climbing.
You
But
already called out Sean O'Malley.
yeah,
You did that here tonight, so
yeah, he's lighter than me. Pretty sure 130. I mean, I'm sure by now we could definitely fight it, be at my weight class. But
all right. Well, there you have it. He called out a few people, called some other people out their names, and made a name for himself. So, ladies and gentlemen, Zach Bloomberg, up and coming MMA fighter. Check him out on his socials. Zach, thank you for doing this. It was a pleasure.
yes,
Hopefully,
sir. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.